Hello, and non-binary people. Romie Mojo here. Please like, comment, subscribe. So, road to 9,000. Please show me some love and support by liking, leaving a comment, and subscribing. I'm going to split this up into two parts since it was done in two parts. Janet Jackson, the icon, the legend, eventually pioneer, the blueprint of what a black uh, female pop star was, looked like, could do, and then transcended even that as blueprint for female pop stars, period. And I love the fact that in parts one and two, it was definitely I was waiting for the mess. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I was trying to figure out like what is going on, where is some of the more salacious stuff that we were looking for, but I'm here to discuss the fact that her father, even though on one hand a lot was said about him previously, not in the documentary, about how he handled the kids and how he treated them in order to build them up for this industry, for their success. So we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the fact that at the end of the day, Janet Jackson just wanted to belong in her family. She wasn't even trying to necessarily flat out do, let's say, music. She wasn't even trying to flat out do uh, acting. It was one of those things where her father was like, hey, we have this road show. You're going to be a part of it from now on. And so that's where she started to get her chops. And she explained how it was weird because it was in Vegas and there were no kids performing in Vegas. So they would go and sneak, her and Michael and maybe Randy or something, or would go and sneak off and see the showgirls. And just think about that. As a young child, the exposure that she's getting to entertainment in the world so early versus how sheltered her life probably would have been if they stayed where they originally were from. So we had that. A lot of it, though, was focused on the fact that her career and image, which is something that we hear in mirror and is mirrored in even today, where we find out these stars initially, the songs that they do, the sound that they're supposed to have, how that usually all gets put in a box, and you're told you're gonna look like this, you're gonna sound like this is how you're gonna walk, this is how you're gonna dance, this is how your hair is gonna be, your image, everything about you is curated and sold to the masses. Except for when it came to Janet Jackson, when it was the acting stuff, mm, when it eventually got to the music stuff, because and it was almost by accident where she was singing on the audio track, and then her father and the rest of them heard and said, "Oh, now you're gonna do music." The image again that they had for her was not the image she wanted, nor was it genuine. Because of that, it did not sell. It was just music that was probably based on productions and lyrics that were popular at the time. And it was like, okay, Jane Jackson, Michael Jackson's sister, she's one of the Jacksons. We can throw her out there. It'll be fine. No. And I think they said, what was it, the first two albums? Or at least the first one? Eh. It went nowhere. It went paperclip. It went paperclip. It was like 142 or 148 on the Billboard charts. For Jackson, oh no. So the frustration went lies in, and that's when she realized she had to make a change. She had to go and become more independent. Part of the reason why so much focus got put on Janet when it came to music and all these other stuff was because the Jacksons fired Joe Jackson, which meant that all of his time and energy and thought process could be honed in and focused on Janet. And yeah, you would say, oh, that would be good because look at what he did for them, but he could only take them so far. And it was the same thing with Janet. And to learn that even for some of the acting stuff she didn't want to do, I believe it was Fame she didn't want to do originally, because that's just not what she wanted to do. There was no issues with the cast or anything, she just did not necessarily want to do that. Also, when we hear about a little bit later how on Good Times, where that role was a lot, it was emotionally draining. It was because it was from the standpoint of an abused kid. And so when you think about it, it's like, dang, Janet really had to go and dig deep for a lot of that. And I don't think we give enough credit to her when it comes to the acting side. But let's put that on the back burner for a little bit. Then we have her first marriage, her first, I guess you can say, love slash marriage to James DeBarge. And it was one of those things where everyone was kind of looking like, I don't know about him. I don't know what's going on. But she said she knew the family from when she was younger and she was friends with James. So they started out as friends and it became something more. And it could have been beautiful. It could have been great, but it turned out tragic. It turned out tragic because she found out later on, she realized on their wedding night, he actually went out for like over, was it 3-4 hours, so that he could go and do drugs. And later on, she learned that he had a drug addiction. She even talked about how at one point they were literally tussling on the floor because she was trying to get rid of his drugs because she was like, you can't, do this. This isn't healthy. This isn't safe. And no, I'm not about this life. Like, and as we know, it was mainly his behavior due to his addiction that caused the demise of that relationship. Um, in comes Renee. And I have a lot to say about Renee. So that's what we're actually going to really focus on for the rest of this part. Renee. So here's the thing. Again, Joe Jackson, the way how from Janet Jackson was a young age, he got her in front of America, in front of the world, made sure that she started to gain the presence. And it was a lot of work, took a lot of time. So there was a lot of things that he instilled and made a way for his daughter so that she can get to where she is today. And she acknowledges that. I'm going to say the same thing for Renee because Janet was still very reserved. She was still also very guarded with her image and with herself. Renee loved the camera. And so he loved filming everything. And again, even just doing that is a way of opening yourself up. So filming everything, and he had an idea and image of how things should be. And that did help Janet a lot. It did. It did. We're not going to go and downplay just because we look at Renee like, you seem kind of controlling. You seem like you're doing too much. You seem like you're only okay with this because the results are turning out positive type of thing versus a traditional boyfriend-girlfriend relationship where it's like, oh, you wouldn't normally have your girlfriend go and do this somewhat sexual thing with this guy on screen, or be okay with filming this music video this way, or having, I had no idea that the iconic Rolling Stone cover where it's her just in some jeans and her arms up, that it was Renee who was covering her breasts. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, Renee, because I was looking at him like, okay, why are we spending so much time and so happy? And I know that their relationship did last a good period of time, so there was a good reason for him to be in there like that. But I was like, when are we gonna get to dun dun dun? Because I was wondering about the dun dun dun. So we're gonna do that in part 2. But before that, yeah, we have to talk about the fact that Janet made clear that, look, there ain't no baby. She wouldn't hide a baby from James DeBarge, and just because her nieces look similar to her does not mean that they are her children. And she put out there that she started taking birth control around the time when she was, I guess, with James. So that's why she started gaining weight. And then some kids on the set when she was filming would, I guess, kind of look and kind of be like, hey, is she pregnant type of thing. And it is messed up because I even remember more so like recent times when Miley Cyrus was still Hannah Montana and she gained a little bit of weight and the press was like, oh, she's pregnant. It's like, no. She's growing up. She's not gonna just have this naturally petite frame forever. Like, what? It's like, what? Really? Aside from that, Paula Abdul and the role that Paula Abdul had in Janet Jackson's life by also being one of the people to help bring her out of her shell, especially when it came to dancing and just moving her body and her expressing herself that way through dancing. I was like, oh wow, Paula Abdul, for in some areas gets her credit and other times does not. And it's kind of crazy when you think about the people behind or next to these people that become bigger than life, and how Janet Jackson needed a new direction, and how she got with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that. And that's how example where you need to go where the talent is. Apparently she had went to one of their shows, and then she spoke with them afterwards, and then next thing you know they're in the studio, and that's how. And sometimes that's what I wish like other artists would do. Hey, you don't need to work with just the main people. But I understand like if you have a record contract and they're like, no, these are the producers you have to work with, then that's one thing. But if you don't have that limit set on you, then don't put that limit on yourself. So that's all I want to talk about for part 1/2. So parts 3 and 4 is when we'll get to the mess. Please like, comment, subscribe. Again, road to 9,000. Let's go.